Hello, Chicago. This is Kira Macoun, your host of Chicago Corner. It's Tuesday night. It's time to party. Who's ready? I know I am. I'm prepared here with my sparkling tangerine water, ready to get this party started. Joining me tonight to party is none other than Mr. Kit Cabello. Hello, Kit.
It's been long overdue. I missed the past two episodes of Chicago Corner on Friday. So glad to join you here on Tuesday. Reminds me of the old days of Hard Lens Media. I'm here to party too. I got grape juice.
Grape juice,
Grape
yes,
juice.
Of a sort. Awesome.
Welcome to the party, pal.
All right, and let's bring in the man behind the magic here, Mr. Ed Heller.
Hello.
What
How's
is
everybody
up?
doing today?
Killing it. I'm glad
On
it's
this
Tuesday.
wonderful Taco Tuesday.
It is. Why don't we ever have tacos during the show? It's because they're messy.
Yeah.
It would be distracting.
Yeah, but we should still do it though.
Yeah.
We should still do it, yes.
Maybe for like, I don't know, our 100th episode or something. Maybe we gotta figure that out. How many episodes we've done now? How many episodes have we done on Chicago Corner? We're in charge of the YouTube channel. We don't even know how many episodes we've done.
Yeah, we'll have to count. Well, how many have we done on Tuesday?
There you go. Oh, yeah. See,
There
we
we
can't
go.
we can't count all the willy-nilly days of
How
the
many
week. That would be
Taco
ridiculous.
Tuesdays have we gone without tacos on Chicago Corner?
I think we need to have them backlogged then, so we have to eat at least double the amount of tacos than we usually would every Tuesday.
Yeah,
I have some breaking news too to tell you guys.
Breaking news.
Yes. So at the studio, our colleague and good friend Jerry Vassilatos recently did a sit-down interview today with none other than Alderman Byron Cincho Lopez, who has been a huge fighter. He's been with the Pilsen Alliance. We've interviewed him at Hardlands Media when he was an activist before he became an alderman. And it was an outstanding interview, and it will be available on Can TV and very soon on our YouTube channel as well. Be sure to be subscribed to our channel so you could check it out.
Definitely do. And also just be sure to like this episode. Be sure to share it onto your social media. Share it live now so more people can join the stream and learn about what we're doing to make sure that the people of Chicago know what's going on. And of course, we have shows twice weekly. So we do our best to give a well-rounded look at, how our money is being spent in Chicago, what our resources are doing, what our elected officials are doing, so that we can keep a good eye on them as the watchdogs of, the Chicago leadership, I guess. So should we go ahead and get started? I had such a difficult time curating the show today, you guys. It was painful. There's so much to talk about. Well, mostly also because I usually count on the Friday show to take half the week. And so then I feel this responsibility to make sure that I'm covering everything that didn't get covered. And that's just not a possibility. So apologies to anybody who, if there was a really important story to you, it was probably important to us too. It's just that the bandwidth is a little bit shorter. I want to make sure to also say hello to everybody who's in the chat. We have Elhanar, what is up? Who else is here? Miguel, Audit Press, and Kathy Powers, what's going on? That's all I see in the chat for now. So be sure to join the conversation as well. So some of the stories that I just wanted to kind of, shout out to what we called in the Hardlands days, what I wanted to story zero. But I just wanted to, get a reaction from my panel to each of the stories. Just a quick, we don't need to go in depth unless you really feel pulled to do it. Mostly I'm inviting you to not go too far into depth because I didn't have the bandwidth to do that either. But just some things to touch on. So the Highland Park shooter is pleading not guilty. to the counts of, I think it's murder that he has been charged with. Any reactions to that?
By reason of insanity, maybe that could be the only possibility that runs through my head that would actually make sense for him pleading not guilty.
Yeah.
Um,
I just saw the headlines and I was like, okay, that's
and
interesting.
I'm
And I was
like,
like, maybe I'll look at that,
no.
but I didn't get to it. No.
I'm gonna have to side with Edward on this one too. I mean, by reason of insanity, saying not guilty. I mean, what else? What else can I say that pretty much, without us exploding into rage, or is that this taking this little story zero becoming a story half hour? So yeah, I mean, let's be very clear. So I went ahead right back to you, Kira. I mean,
it was a surprising headline. I was like, okay, interesting. Illinois sales tax holiday was on Friday, or started on Friday. And so that was sales tax being reduced, I think it was, for school supplies mainly.
They had a list of stuff that you couldn't actually get the sales tax
didn't really seem like that big of a deal, did it? Like,
so no buying steaks.
Anybody?
It's like,
no buying steaks, no buying fancy wine.
No, but they're school steaks, Kit. They're for school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah, hey, I'm buying these steaks for school. Why are you gonna bring a steak to school? Lunch
for learning.
And lunch, how to grill. I mean, come on, there you go.
These are learning.
Do they have
steaks.
home ec anymore?
No,
they don't have home ec anymore. Are you serious?
I don't go to school anymore, so
yeah, I don't go to school.
I mean, there might be schools that are still doing that.
We don't go to school anymore here.
We don't go to school anymore here. We've quit the whole
No,
school
we
thing.
School people now. We don't go to school.
So then Tom Tunney isn't running again for re-election. He's talking about maybe running for mayor, just to add to the car. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. So that will be something interesting to watch. But I think that it is final. He is not planning on running, and he will be considering that while he is on break. Here we go. There we go.
Hey,
he's walking out of the clown car, and maybe he's thinking of getting. No, he's shaking hands with. Okay,
look at that glove. Look at that glove.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, that looks uncomfortable. Okay. And then lastly, another headline that, I just didn't have the bandwidth for was Indiana being the first state to ban abortion, or nearly ban abortion, after the overturn of Roe, which is a neighboring state of ours. So something that does most certainly impacts us as a city and as a state, and also something, to be aware of at the very least. So those are just sort of from a bird's eye view, some of the things that I thought that I wanted to mention before we dive into the details of the stories we were looking at for today. So we're finding that ever since Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced the deal between the city and NASCAR to allow stock cars to zoom through the city streets in 2023 to 2025. I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. New details show that NASCAR will have access to the site for longer than previously stated, and the race could be extended beyond the 3 years announced. Nobody's surprised by this, right? She kind of left, the downtown alderman who had taken issue with the deal in the dust as she was boasting about the economic benefit. But there's an article by Cranes that juxtaposes the deal that NASCAR got with the Lala deal. And I think that, Ed, you found a video.
We could play that.
Touches on that. Let's just, for the sake of variety.
Begin the news at 6 with growing backlash against Mayor Lightfoot's NASCAR race at Grant Park as new details of the agreement are made public.
WGN's Jenna Barnes is live at Grant Park with the story now. Jenna? Ray and Dina, up to 100,000 people a day are expected here for the street race next year. And documents obtained by Crane's Chicago business reveal it likely won't be as lucrative for the city as Lollapalooza, but its impacts here will last much longer. NASCAR had previously said, the Park District had previously said, that NASCAR would have access to the site 9 days before the event and 3 days after the event. But Cranes learned NASCAR will have a staging window of 21 days before the race and 10 days after. Lollapalooza's organizers pay the city $2 million for a 4-day festival. NASCAR will pay the Park District $550,000 in 2023 and 2024.
Each year or together?
I think it was each year, and then it increases
I'm sorry.
in 2025.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Edward, you're probably going to be the only person that will get this reference, but this is so much BS here, what NASCAR is doing, and it seems so in line with Chicago politics that this scumbag deal, in my opinion, I mean, look, if I compare it to the movie Cannonball Run, that race is more legitimate than anything that we're seeing right here. All right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Edward, you know what Cannonball Run is. So there you go.
If some of you younger people out there have not seen Cannonball Run, you really should go find that on one of your streaming platforms and watch.
I haven't
the
seen
first
Cannonball
one.
Run.
The first
and the second one's not terrible, but the third one is just a dumpster fire.
All right, the first one. Start off with the first one, okay, folks. There you go.
That's where you usually want to start.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're already hearing that NASCAR is getting a much better deal than C3%, which is the company that produces Lollapalooza. If I were the organizers of Lolla, I'd feel a little like a little bummed out about that. But also we as the city of Chicago might look at that and think, maybe we could have gotten a better deal. It sounds like we could have, especially considering the extension in time that they've actually given. You heard in the video, they talked about basically having 21 days to set up beforehand. And then I think it was 10 days afterward. And that wasn't actually in the original deal, or the one at least that was originally expressed to the public. So
I'm just wondering. Yeah, and I'm just wondering, even trying to build in ideas of how much time it's going to take before and how much time it's going to take after. They're probably barely even thinking about the possibility that any severe car crashes or damages to buildings in the city.
I was wondering about that too.
There's gonna be a car crash. There's gonna be an accident. Just prepare yourselves for it. And you know what? Mayor Lightfoot is going to somehow worm and slither her way away from it. I
wish we had a video clip of the Blues Brothers chase through the mall, because that's what it kind of feels like.
Wait, hold on. Another thing too, is this area structurally sound for all these cars to be going in and out at this?
I have no idea. They're obviously going to have to be doing that kind of construction, but that's the other thing, because you bring up a good point, Kit, because
all the vibrations, right?
Won't say. Okay, wait. I'm sorry. Hold on, because let me get this out here. Okay, when we had that polar vortex hit us, I think in 2017 or 2018, a large chunk of steel fell off a Lakeshore Drive. It was cracked, the whole highway there had to be shut down. And the city had to fix it because it was a real structural problem. And when you talk about vibrations, I am going to talk about vibrations and the amount of speed that these cars are going to be riding throughout this entire area. Is the city roads really capable of handling that kind of speed and kind of pressure and everything else? Because again, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a worrywart here. Okay.
Yeah, but they don't in the article I saw, and we'll finish watching this video just in case the article that I read didn't have this information. But I think you're bringing up a great point, Kit. Doesn't there need to be repairs done and safety measures taken and so the NASCAR contract doesn't specify what repairs NASCAR will have to pay at the conclusion of the event. but the company will lay down a $50,000 security deposit, and officials from both parties will tour the site before and after the event with a third-party contractor who will submit a damage estimate and restoration estimate. They're going to have, NASCAR will have access to the band shell on Wednesday through Sunday of the race week. I'm trying to see if there's anything about like preparing the track, essentially the roads, because you would think that would be something that would have to be taken into consideration. But no, the article that I was looking at and it didn't have anything like that. So let's listen to the rest of this video and see if they speak to that at all.
For the NASCAR race, the Park District will receive $2 for every ticket sold and a percentage of concessions and merchandise sales. But unlike Lollapalooza, NASCAR will have exclusive rights to sell sponsorship.
Oh, fuck you.
It doesn't look like, based on partial information, that they're kind of giving the financial compensation to the Park District that Lollapalooza is.
In the Lollapalooza contract, there's, they get a cut of the sponsorship. They get a cut of the streaming of the concert.
That's Justin Lawrence. He wrote the Cranes article, or at least he co-wrote the Cranes article.
Right on.
And that's not going to happen here. So the city, in all likelihood, will make much less money.
Downtown Alderman Brendan Riley reacting to their reporting with a statement saying, judging from the details we are just learning now, it's pretty obvious why the administration forbade NASCAR from sharing the terms of the deal with the alderpersons who represent impacted communities. The more we learn, the worse this deal gets.
Let's pause here.
In my experience, Chicago.
I just wanted to highlight that. I kind of did it there, but I just, that we are just learning now, I just think that regardless of like whether or not this ends up being a great deal for Chicago,
it won't.
This way of doing business is unworkable. It's untenable. You can't just say, this is what we're going to do. This is the deal we're going to make, and not tell city council. So, I would be a very frustrated member of city council if I was part of that team.
There's so much transparency in this administration.
Also, again, this is the same Mayor Lori Lightfoot that once again is trying to run for re-election, who is ignoring that there's lead in Chicago's drinking water. People are still being evicted from their homes and apartments. Gentrification is still running amok. We still got corrupt Chicago police officers. Oh, by the way, look, I hate to be that person, but heaven forbid that, again, all these cars are driving at their high speeds, that, I don't know, that there's some sort of infrastructure crisis where maybe a road collapses in because of all the speed and weight of the vehicles. Now, look, again, I'm not an expert here with NASCAR or anything like that. I'm not going to pretend to be a person that knows how any of that stuff works. But the last place I would have an event for NASCAR cars be on the roads of the city of Chicago. Because let me tell you something. My life, I've driven nothing but hand-me-down cars, okay? I only recently got me a brand new car, and I'm still driving the same way I drove those hand-me-down cars, and that's avoiding those potholes, avoiding everything collapsing down on me. That's the last thing I'm going to do, all right? And that's the last place I would have a place for NASCAR cars to be driving in and around. This has disaster written all over it, or either that, something else out of left field. And mark my words, I hope I don't see it, because it'll be a huge embarrassment for Chicago, but something else will come out of left field that will completely ruin this event or cause some kind of disaster. Mayor Lightfoot doesn't care about the people of Chicago, and she doesn't respect the people of Chicago. Now, say whatever you will about the alderman, but I'll side with the alderman on this one. The more they're learning about this deal, the worse it's going to get for them and their constituents. And so if the aldermen ever wanted to, work together for this rare moment, lift up Olympus and try and stop this thing from happening, because Lightfoot is going to embarrass Chicago again. Simple as that.
Oh, man. Okay, Kit. All right, you're making me
Sorry.
nervous. Here we go. Let's watch the video.
I hope I'm wrong.
Taxpayers
I
know
hope
a
so,
bad
too.
deal when they see one, and I'm sad to say this is one of them. We have reached out to the mayor's office for a statement and for comment on this reporting. So far, we have not heard back. We're live downtown. Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
They should just keep circling City Hall, says Kathy. It's going to be so loud, you guys. I was just thinking about how much I hate the Air and Water Show, and I was like, this is going to be the Air and Water Show.
Oh, it's going to be louder.
No, but think how this is going to be a nightmare for commuters. I didn't even think. That's something on my mind right there. They're going to shut down. They're going to be shutting down some key arteries of Chicago traffic for this NASCAR event.
Oh yeah,
and it's not going to be private transportation where you're with your own vehicle. Do you know how it's going to impact public transportation? The trains and the buses, the cabs and the Ubers. Holy cow! If you're going to be taking a cab or an Uber, it's going to cost you buku bucks.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of implications here. That I mean, I guess maybe they thought about it, but I highly doubt it. I mean, one of the reasons that you have something like a city council, right, is so that you have all kinds of different ideas, all kinds of different walks of life coming in and saying, actually, I don't know if that'll work, or this would be really great for this community of mine, blah, 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 and to just not use them and utilize their ideas and their input is really dangerous, especially when we're talking literally about something that could cost people their lives. I don't, if you guys have ever watched NASCAR, you know that it is highly likely that there is an accident.
And look, those accidents, thankfully now, I mean, they have equipment and gear to protect the drivers, but those are on tracks that are designed for those kind of races, and they have the infrastructure put in place to prevent these accidents from getting worse or even hurting the people. Mm-hmm. Do we have that for Chicago?
I can't imagine. And how much is that infrastructure going to cost? And does NASCAR pay for it?
Will NASCAR pay for it, or will we pay for it?
Well, that should have been the conversation with this deal. Is that NASCAR should have been paid a ton of money for promotional purposes to us so that we can add to our infrastructure repair funds.
Right, but instead it's just going to be a $50,000 fee to check out the course beforehand and after. That's all I saw on the preparatory.
That's not enough.
And Chicago's not even getting and Chicago's not getting a piece of the promotional stuff. So what are we doing this for again?
This is for Lightfoot's ego because she's a scumbag. Simple as that. And look, hey, maybe I'm being too mean. Maybe I should come up with a much more polite word to say for Lightfoot. But this is to stroke her own ego. And if there isn't a disaster that happens after this event, then she's very lucky. But if there is a disaster, then the people need to hold Lightfoot accountable and make her be held accountable with the entire due process that we have in our legal system, because this is an irresponsible measure and a childless antic by Lightfoot, who likes to dress up as a costume character, who likes to clown around and not lead the city. This will not help us out. And the very fact that Chicago, look, even though Chicago's not getting a single, a really big slice of the pie here, you would think that'd be the priority of any mayor of any city across the United States. Hey, if there's going to be a big event here happening in my city, my town, my village, we're going to get a slice of that revenue that you're going to be bringing in here. But oh no, Lightfoot didn't do that. Why does she want to run for re-election again?
Ego.
Well, I mean, I think that you answered that question, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised that this is happening because when I served in the Marine Corps, right, I knew a lot of guys that were fans of NASCAR. They were real experts, okay, knowing a hell of a lot more than me. But I could say this with absolute confidence that if they were to see this, they'd say, okay, this would be kind of interesting, but this is the last damn place you'd want to put a NASCAR race happening at any kind of level. Because It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know who came up with this. I don't know whether it was Lightfoot that came up with this or some people around her giving her an idea for this. It's a dumb idea and it shouldn't happen. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Zep Pearl brings up a really good point here.
Yes, Zep Pearl.
This might be worse than bringing the Olympics to Chicago pitch years ago. Yeah, I remember that. That was this guy, Ambassador Godzilla over here.
No. And that was also Mayor Daley too, Daley Jr.
Oh, was it Junior too?
Yeah, it was Daley Jr. Daley Jr. wanted the Olympics to come here.
Okay,
yep.
Maybe it was a team effort or something.
Wait. It was Daley Jr. and Barack Obama, when he was announced as president, also came there as an ambassador to the Olympics too. So yeah, Rahm had some pull there too. Thank God we avoided that. Any city that hosts the Olympics suffers a severe recession.
Well, and then a share from Eleanor saying, my father worked in construction and racetracks are expensive. The roads are made with more concrete because of the cars. Yeah, that's what I was figuring. I was just actually I was just pulling up skimming other articles that I had already read last week and stuff in regards to the story, because I'm honestly I haven't read anything about. So what if they do this precursory check and they recognize, oh, there's a boatload of potholes all over the place, and this would be very dangerous if they went around this curve and they ran into these buildings. Now we have to create this infrastructure, and then I guess I'm just not clear on that part of the contract, because once you brought that up, Kit, now I've become kind of obsessed with it. So something for me to continue to dig for and look for, because I haven't found the answer yet.
Right.
Okay.
I think a perfect way to end this segment is, what do you do when you've seen it all? Cannonball! 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 Only the initiated will remember. Only the initiated will know.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
Cannonball Run. It was a song. It was a song.
The theme song to the Cannonball Run movie.
You've seen it all. Cannonball. Cannonball.
You better not get this video struck, Kit.
All right, sorry.
Anyway.
$1 from Cassie Powers 2022. Thank you so much.
Woo! See, look at that. I think we got to see the con.
Uncle Warren's in the chat. Hey, Warren.
All right, we got Warren in the house. All right, let's next
program of the house. So excited to see you all here.
Never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
All right. So I'm actually starting to think there is an effort to reduce the number of affordable housing in the city, instead of an effort to increase the number of affordable housing in the city. Last week, or a couple weeks ago, I talked about an area becoming a school instead of affordable housing. I don't know if you guys remember that story. It was supposed to be affordable housing. It was being put up to be a school instead, which kind of pulled the rug out from housing activists and people that were counting on, their requests for affordable housing being honored. And now I have two more stories regarding the Chicago Housing Authority bogarting houses and keeping them vacant. And then also their efforts to lease land that used to be affordable housing to, drum roll please, the Chicago Fire soccer team. And I'm like, what?
What?
Who thought that was a good idea?
Who? And why? Chicago Fire?
Yeah, it's wild. So I'll just tell the umbrella of the story here. I'll get to the Chicago Fire in just a moment because it's a maddening story. So the first story is, simply about the vast numbers of vacant houses the Chicago Housing Authority, or CHA, owns, and also the steps that certain groups are taking to insist that the Chicago Housing Authority make these houses livable and available. Dudes, these folks are going out and living in these vacant, like, you know, like rundown houses to basically, you know, to A, have housing, but B, to make a point that like these houses, there's no reason these houses should be vacant. So let me give you a little bit of background. The Chicago Housing Authority is a municipal corporation that oversees public housing within the city of Chicago. The agency's board of commissioners is appointed by the city's mayor and has a budget independent from that of the city of Chicago. CHA is the largest rental landlord in Chicago with more than 60,000 households. Last year, at the time of the lifting of the moratorium, and these are the most recent numbers I could find. Ed, I don't know if you found more recent in your research that you did, but last year there were about 2,000 vacant CHA properties, and that included some commercial properties. So it's properties, but like units inside of properties, like thousands of what could be available housing just sitting vacant. So this group of people are taking an initiative in Humboldt Park, and they're calling themselves the Humboldt Park Housing Project. And from what I understand, they've decided to squat in homes in Humboldt Park that are sitting vacant. And they started doing it in January of this year. And on Friday, just a few days ago, 12 people were locked out of their homes after having done that. So Katie Williams, who's 39, and Wilson Mather Glass, who's 25, are two of those occupants. They said they moved in on January 1st after seeing a homeless encampment pop up in the neighborhood. And while large numbers of homes allegedly owned by the Chicago housing authorities remained vacant. Williams said there was no notice of the eviction prior to July 26, which is when employees from the Hispanic Housing Development Corporation allegedly showed up to the house and removed some of their belongings and asked Williams, Matherglass, and a third roommate who was out of town on Friday to remove the rest. And to get them out of there, they broke down the door. They broke a bunch of their things. They threatened them. They used homophobic and transphobic slurs, said Williams. The housing authority said in a statement that, quote, CHA takes these issues seriously and follows all appropriate legal processes to remove squatters from property. We have viewed the video of the encounter on July 26th, which I have not seen that video. I don't know that it was in the article. I didn't see it. I may have missed it. On July 26th, and have concerns about how this situation was handled by our third-party property manager, and this incident is under investigation. So they're admitting that based on a video that they saw of the incident, that it was not appropriate with how it was handled. And as of Friday, Williams and Matherglass have made their way back inside the home with their stuff. Williams said the occupying vacant houses is a way to stand up against the housing authorities' practice of holding houses vacant for years. The house at 1629 North Washtenaw, which is where the two were staying, had several code violations as of 2019. According to city building permit and inspection records, including not registering the building vacant within 30 days of it becoming vacant or within 30 days of assuming ownership of an existing vacant building. The house was also cited for failure to maintain the exterior walls and keeping the structure free of holes, breaks, and other conditions that could allow rain or moisture into the walls. And they've owned this property since 1996. So it's basically been sitting vacant for 3 years, since 2019, in this condition, while we are in a housing shortage crisis, right? So
they could have given people homes in 2019. They could have just said, look, these are vacant. They're not going up for sale. You can live here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if they were going to make it a situation where eventually they're going to need to, get rent or something, you're, as a city, you have a little bit of leeway there. You could give people a little bit of time to get back on their feet, to actually be able to afford it, some type of income to pay rent or part of a mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Notice how we're seeing humanity being stripped from us, regular people. Look, our government abandoned us in 2020. Now, our government's been abandoning us long before the pandemic ever hit. But since COVID, more and more Americans are struggling day in, day out. Even working 2 or 3 jobs isn't going to cut it at this time. Not now. We got so many people struggling with medical bankruptcy, student debt, and so much more. There's a breaking point. And now the only other option that our city leaders, our state leaders, our federal leaders in Washington, D.C. are giving us is, well, hey, try and struggle and stay in your house, but if not, we're going to throw you out. And here in the city of Chicago, a major metropolis, the people of Chicago are, especially those who are really trying to get by and at least keep a roof over their head, have no choice whatsoever. They're given either poverty or either option B, pure desperation to hopefully they'll still keep that roof over their head. It's a nightmare scenario we're living in. The richest country in the world. We have money for this ridiculous war in Ukraine. We have money to bail out the banks. We have money to provide tax loopholes for these private equity firms, but we don't have money to provide for our people. And where's Lightfoot in all of this? Where's the city council in all of this? Oh, I don't know. Right now, they're worried about their own personal pet projects. By the way, again, folks, Chicago's not broke. If you haven't read the book written by Tom Treasure, please read it. It's a phenomenal read about the TIF funds and really what we could do to help out the people in this city. But don't expect help from the mayor because she's okay with this, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we're seeing, what I'm seeing with this story is that we have everything it is we need to take care of the issues that we have. And if not everything, like at least a significant portion of people can be helped if we would just take care of these vacant houses. And then the other thing I thought of as you were talking, Kit, was this what we reported on like 2 months ago, this woman who was being held captive in one of these vacant homes, right? It's like if these homes are vacant and CHA doesn't have people coming in and checking on them, and these homes don't have cameras on them, right? They're not being watched, they're not being made sure that people aren't going into these homes and squatting and doing God knows whatever else, right? Then these homes can also be places where dangerous things can happen, or at worst, and illegal things, put mildly, right? So I think it can also be dangerous for the community that surrounds the homes, and dangerous for people who just want to feel safe in their city. So
yeah, and it's sad the way that a number of cities, including Chicago and Los Angeles, are treating the homeless. Other countries have found solutions that actually help them overall in the long run. Finland is an example where they just gave homes to homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
It works. I think we have one state in the United States. What was it, Mississippi or Missouri? I can't remember. I think it was Mississippi has a free housing program. And they're like a red state, aren't they? So, I mean, it's not like they can't do that here. It's just that they're choosing not to.
Absolutely. And, and what are they choosing to do, right? Well, this next story kind of steps into that.
They're criminalizing homelessness in cities all over the country, and that's a really bad move on any type of governmental part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're going to get an uprising that way, and you're going to speed it up faster that way.
And I mean, and that's what we're already seeing now. Like, this next story, I'm going to talk about some more affordable housing land being swiped. But also, later on, we're going to be talking about the crime increase, or the violent crime increase on the CTA. And one of the commentators in that story mentions exactly what you mentioned, Ed, which is like, this is not in a vacuum of like what is going on, on a macro level, right? This is just because people are desperate. These are crimes of desperation. People are without home, without, food, and living in dangerous conditions too, as a result of not having any opportunity. So, all of these stories actually, as I'm saying this, end up being connected, obviously. There are over 30,000 folks on the wait list for homes from CHA right now. And back in June, the land that housed thousands of families in the Abla Homes public housing complex will be leased instead for decades to a professional sports team owned by a local billionaire. So, under the deal, the CHA would lease about 26 acres to the Chicago Fire Football Club, which would construct a practice facility consisting of 6 soccer fields and a building for training and business offices. The Fire are owned by Joe Mansueto, founder of the investment research firm Morningstar, and one of Chicago's most influential business leaders.
Why has it got to be called Morningstar? You know, I mean, it just sounds just so devil. You know,
I just thought of the fake meat when I read Morningstar. I was like,
I thought of the other Morningstar. I was like, oh yeah,
isn't that the name for the devil or something?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Dogma, another good movie.
Yeah, very good movie. Very good.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a while. So as its rebuilding efforts have lagged over the last 15 years at the Abla community, the CHA has repeatedly let its land be developed for purposes other than housing, even though that is what it promised 2 decades ago to do. It has sold or leased property for nonprofit tennis academy, a charter school, a police station, medical facilities, movie production space, and a supermarket, according to agency records. Federal officials have signed off on the land transactions. Quote, that property has been sitting vacant for 20 years and it's time for us to do something productive with it, said Tracy Scott, the housing agency CEO. The Fire proposal, she added, is in line with our philosophy of mixed use, mixed income, community development.
Wait, who is us?
The CHA, Tracy Scott, housing agency CEO. So she's CHA's CEO, and she is saying that for CHA, this is in line with their philosophy of mixed use, mixed income community development.
Yeah, that's a weird philosophy, don't you think?
For the Chicago Housing Authority?
Shouldn't it
the
be
Chicago
housing first?
Housing Authority? You mean that organization? The one that's called the Chicago Housing Authority? Yeah, it is a weird philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're definitely adding to the Chicago Corner Manifesto, the North to South, East to West pledge for the next mayor of Chicago, a section for housing first, not second, not maybe if you don't have another mixed use purpose for it. Housing first.
My head, like this story makes my head want to explode. It's bonkers.
Housing is a fundamental right for all people, especially in this country. And yet it's being denied to us. And look who's getting all the land. Look who's getting access to all the buildings and the properties. It's these large firms. It's these top 1%ers. It's the people, and it's bigger than Chicago. You got these billionaires and millionaires. Correction, just billionaires buying all the farmland. You got these corporations buying all the properties, and pretty much it's going to be you, the average person, will own nothing and be happy. Yeah, no one ever agreed to that. No one in the right mind is going to say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, to the top 1%ers that keep pushing this bullshit idea to where you have all the power and all the land, I want you to look up 2 revolutions. No, not the American Revolution. No. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the French Revolution and the Bolshevik Revolution. Because certain things kind of happened to the top 1%ers. They thought they could keep on getting away with it. And if you haven't seen some of the movies that are directed around the Tsar and his family, the Soviets, sorry, it's not Soviet Tsar, but the Russian Tsar, the last Russian Tsar, Tsar Nicholas II. There's an infamous scene where him and his family have been captured by the Bolsheviks, and they're in this little rundown hut, and they're told by their Bolshevik captor, "Hey, get together. We want to do a photo of all of you." Right? They all step out. The family is all together. They're saying like, "Oh, we're gonna get a photograph." In come in the Bolsheviks. They don't got cameras, but they did a Soviet-style photograph. You better believe that, okay? Listen, 1%ers. You might have everything working for you right now, but snow does melt, rivers do dry up, and those who are on top eventually do fall down. That isn't a warning. It is a promise and a fact.
You're not to approve of your methods.
Yeah? Well, you're not from Chicago.
You goddamn right.
Okay. So Mansueto, the fire's owner, is one of Chicago's wealthiest business leaders. He has made donations to the campaigns of several local and state officials, including former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, but not Lightfoot, according to records. But last fall, Lightfoot praised him during her annual speech on the city's budget, citing his work with the city on a development project in the economically struggling area of on the west side. The CHA has received hundreds of millions of dollars in capital grants from the federal government in the last decade, and last year it made plans to undertake new maintenance work at Brooks and Loomis building that were rehabbed at the start of the ABLA revitalization. So those are some of the buildings in the ABLA complex, right? But officials now say the agency needs money from the fire deal to fund those repairs. So we don't have the money for the housing. We gotta fund the repairs from the fire.
The Chicago fire is priority.
What?
The double bean! Kira, it's the double bean! You gotta respect the double bean!
I can't give you the money from the TIF funds because I need 2 beans, Kira. It has to be 2. So we need to find money wherever we can.
Oh, man, you guys, this story is ridiculous. So public housing authorities are required to get federal approving to sell or lease their land. And on May 17th, the CHA board discussed whether to start the process for the ABLA site. It represented the first of several steps the CHA has to take before completing the fire deal. A planning commission and city council would also need to sign off. But again, they don't have any problem in the past getting officials to sign off. Just to be clear, that's what I listed off earlier. All of those different developments have all been signed off. So it's not like it's going to be difficult, in my opinion. So yeah. Like I said, there is a petition. I don't know if I mentioned it, but there is a petition that I do want to share with everybody, and I will also drop it in the chatty boo here. But let me share this screen. Kathy Power sent this petition over, and that's actually how I heard of this in the first place. And then I was like, oh, I gotta do a story on this. So it's through the Action Network here. I just put the link for the petition in the chat, so you can go over there and sign it. It's also in the show notes. So if you're watching by video and you're not on the chat, please go on over and let Tracy Scott, CEO CHA, know that we are not interested in using property or land that was supposed to be used for affordable housing, y'all.
And
what?
you know, and if you want to just get together with the protesters and just protest in person, that might also be effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of people that are doing sit-ins around the Humboldt area, and I'm sure that you can probably find much more going on, particularly with this story of the Chicago fire, because it is, I would call this a big effing deal. Okay. Any other thoughts on that, you guys, before we move on?
Well, it sucks to be living in Chicago right now when you have a mayor that's blind by the people that are begging for help and deaf to their screams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's super disappointing. Go ahead, Ed. Sorry.
I don't know why Lori just couldn't find, some room for a practice field in the Triple Bean Casino that they're going to be having. I mean, why they got to give all that public housing land away?
Yeah. Ooh. Huh? We'll see. No one's going to be able to live here anymore. But man, are we going to be a tourist attraction out the wazoo, aren't we?
Yeah, it's like Chicago's just going to be turned into a giant casino fun park.
That's what I feel like is happening. That's exactly what I think is happening.
I'm enraged by that. I don't want this city to become a fun park. I don't want this to become a tourist location. This is a city with culture and people who have been living here for generations. My family's been living in Chicago since the 1900s. My family's been living in our households now altogether since 1952 for a permanent location now. I mean, my roots go deep here in this city. I don't want to see it be turned into some sort of fun casino place where, again, everything that made this city great is being ignored. But this is the problem when you have a mayor and a city council that will continue Chicago to continue to have Chicago be hyper segregated. I take pride in this city. Yes, I know it has problems. I know that the Fox News propaganda is, there's nothing but violence. Hey, there's no such thing as safe. Nowhere is safe, okay? But this city isn't beyond redemption, and this city is filled with good people. We just have bad leaders. I don't want this city to become just another shining example of, they could have been something, but they didn't.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, hang on a second. I'm sorry I was late on that cue.
Chicago isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here.
There we go. All right. And onward. Perfect. So we're gonna move over to unrelated, but of course, it's the city of Chicago. Everything's related, right? But unrelated specifically to housing. And take a trip over to Cook County State Attorney's Office, Kim Foxx, and she's filed some motions to clear 8 more homicide convictions tied to this notorious former Chicago police detective. Ed, do you have that video up and ready? Let's go ahead and have WGN TV tell us a little bit of this story in regards to this police detective, this Rinalda Guevara.
Okay, give me a second.
Brought you the story of Daniel Rod.
Hold on a second. Let me rewind that.
All right, right on.
Earlier this year, we brought you the story of Daniel Rodriguez. He spent 13 years in prison for a murder he claims he didn't commit, alleging he was framed by former Chicago police detective Rinaldo Guevara.
If he was looking for you, chances are you were going down or you were in trouble.
As we reported in the Rodriguez case, the Office of Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, which had defended his conviction, changed course and cleared him just a few months ago. Now she's doing the same for another 8 men. Some, like Rodriguez, served a full sentence. Others will be released from prison over questions about Guevara's tactics, allegedly forcing confessions and manipulating witnesses.
He's a stain on our criminal justice system. He's a stain on the men and women in law enforcement who go out every day to get this right.
In all, Rodriguez and more than 20 other men who claim they were framed by Guevara have been cleared in recent years. Guevara retired in 2005. WGN Investigates found him earlier this year living out of state in Texas and collecting 2 city pensions that have paid out more than $1 million.
2!
We didn't make the decision to do that.
Wow!
In an exclusive interview with WGN Investigates in advance of today's announcement, Foxx told us her review, which took nearly 3 years, was both painstaking and thorough.
I certainly recognize the frustration that people had about the length of time it was taking us to review these cases. But justice requires us to be as meticulous and as thorough and as thoughtful as we could be.
As a detective based out of the Chicago Police Department's Area 5 headquarters,
Would you pause there?
Earned a reputation in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, so one of the stories we're about to go into in regards to Kim Foxx, and I just wanted to highlight what she said there in the amount of time, the upset that people had around them taking a while to exonerate those cases. And then on the other hand, just to insert this, she's having people clear out of her office, and some of them are claiming it's because she's not being careful inside of a lot of these exonerations. So just highlighting a little bit of a oppositional commentary there that I've been noticing. So
Yeah, it's kind of curious. I'm wondering how much of the pushback toward what her office does is linked to this kind of corruption.
yeah, and I'm super curious also because one guy, was his name Murphy, who had just resigned like a week or two ago, said something about the bill that goes into action in January 2023, and her office's push to basically, get rid of bail for anybody who is not a violent or considered a violent criminal. Um, uh, or aren't brought in on a violent crime. And so they weren't very happy about that either, which is actually a bill that I personally support.
Yeah,
So
it's not to say that everything she's done isn't without question. It's but
right.
Because and then because some have brought up legitimate questions about some of the things she's done in the past. I can, off the top of my head, I can think of how the entire Jussie Smollett thing was handled.
So yes, I think there was resentment around that as well, because that was awful and sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do you want to continue the video there, Ed?
Yeah,
Sorry to cut in there.
Yeah, we can do it.
For solving cases no other cop could.
Wait, hold on.
That's
back a little bit.
Yeah, it's back up.
In the 80s and 90s for solving cases no other cop could. But that success apparently came at a cost.
That the work that he has done as a detective, particularly in these cases, is so tainted that the credibility of that conviction is called into question.
Guevara has not been charged with a crime. He has refused to testify in numerous legal cases, repeatedly invoking his Fifth Amendment right.
Yes, I don't wish to answer that.
In a rare move, Foxx says her office recently offered him immunity if he came to court and testified.
But why? Why would you offer him immunity? I mean,
there is no justice. There is no justice in this country.
Yeah, that's a great point.
By the way, folks, look.
What was that series called? The Shield.
Yeah, The Shield. Oh my God.
Mackey? Yeah, I'm like, this is like the Vic Mackey of Chicago.
Well,
why would you offer him immunity?
Here's something else. Well, probably has like a lot of blackmail information on some of these politicians. Let's face it. A guy who's been in that heavily involved in police work in the city of Chicago, he's got his own back dealings with what's happening.
So
and on top of that, too, look, I got to call into question every single person that this man has arrested. That conviction now has to be looked into again. Because chances are, there might not be just hundreds of people who are locked behind bars
for
crimes they didn't commit, but there could be thousands. There I said tens of thousands, and there's probably a million. And there's probably a couple more, 100 or 1,000 other scumbag officers like this guy.
Well, I was going to say probably not thousands from him, but because
Yeah, I mean, couple other scumbag officers, maybe 100 other scumbag officers that put thousands upon thousands of innocent people behind bars for crimes they didn't commit. Look, in 2017, Daniel and I covered an event at the Exoneration Project where 16 black men were exonerated for crimes they didn't commit because of 4 corrupt Chicago police officers. Those are 16 men who lost good portions of their lives behind bars.
Yeah.
I dread to think about the thousands upon thousands of others, men and women, who are behind bars serving for crimes they did not commit.
Yeah.
he chose to remain silent.
She doesn't expect that to change, even if more cases come into question.
Certainly, we know that there will be others who see what happened and will likely make petitions to the court. We will evaluate each case on a case-by-case basis to determine whether or not the interest of justice serves continuing with those cases.
The overturned convictions are just part of the story. Many of the men have moved to file suits against the city after their convictions have been overturned.
Now the taxpayers have to pay for it.
Out close to $75 million in attorneys and settlements linked to the cases. Some predict that by the time it's all said and done, the city could spend as much as $200 million in settlements linked to the notorious cop. Lourdes Duarte, WGN Investigates.
Yeah, so much for that extra bean money there, Lori.
Yeah, no diggity. Jesus Christ. You guys.
Well done, City of Chicago. Oh, by the way, remember, it was Joe Biden, Joe 30330, that decided to give the remainder of the COVID relief money to the city mayors. Hey, spend it on the cops.
Yeah.
Spend it on the cops. The cops can get all the extra funding.
Dude, this story is pretty depressing.
Again,
in so many ways, in every ways, this guy's fucking living free. He's living free, over $1 million in pension, and he's being offered immunity right now. All these people who are decades behind bars, having their lives ruined, their children traumatized, probably in bankruptcy because it cost $1 million to make a phone call. And then the city of Chicago has to pay for it all.
Yep.
One other thing here too. Look, we need to reform. Not dare I say not reform. We need to tear down our entire police and political infrastructure here in this city. It is corrupt to the core.
It's gross.
Think about all the men and women that are behind bars right now for crimes they didn't commit. Yes, there are bad people. Yes, I know why we need cops. Yes, law and order, all that BS. I know before the Fox News people start yelling at us, whatever. I get you. But there's a lot of innocent men and women behind bars for crimes they didn't commit.
And it's that kind of stuff, that breeds more and more violence, right? When parents are taken away from the home, when partners are taken away from partners, when people are taken out of their communities and then stripped of any of their rights, and it's already awful, right? But and then add on top of that they haven't actually done what they're doing time for. It's a community ruiner. It's a family ruiner. It just wrecks people's lives, and then it just wrecks communities. And then we sit around complaining about how there's crime, and how we need to put more cops out on the streets, instead of just really looking at what might be generating this crime really.
Yeah, so it's just one more angle as to why we need to redo public safety in the city and the country, really. But and it doesn't mean and like many of us have said, it doesn't necessarily mean completely getting rid of police officers, but you have to reimagine or reconsider what their role is in the entire public safety sphere. You've got to have them working alongside other individuals that can help with the public safety. And it goes with people who deal with housing support, people who work in social services, people who deal with health care and mental health care. Any types of community support services that are going to help communities reduce the need for a perceived requirement for more police.
Yeah, which is actually another story we'll be getting into a little bit later. And it's just interesting what they actually say the outcome of more police provides, which is actually nothing.
So other than being a jobs program.
Well, and then we'll get into that too in just a moment too. So anyway, along with the mass exodus from prison, this story has also been like coming at me for weeks. The Guevara, like all of those exonerations, just week after week, there's another person who's being exonerated, and then the same with these attorneys exiting Kim Foxx's office. So I wanted to be responsible and talk about that because I think it's important for us to know what's going on in that part of the world as well. So, and here's what I read up on that. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx's office is seeing a degree of turnover that is raising alarms among the criminal justice community. Her office has previously blamed the pandemic-era shifts in the workforce on a dwindling pool of local prosecutors, but lawyer Dan Kirk said that the assistant state attorneys, or ASAs, leaving in droves isn't normal, even during a great resignation. So Dan Kirk isn't a big fan of Kim Foxx's. They have a history and whatnot with each other. So that's what he has to say in regard to the dwindling pool of prosecutors. Those frustrations drew public attention when long-serving state's attorney James Murphy recently resigned and blasted Foxx on his way out. And I remember reading his resignation letter. And he said, I can no longer work for this administration. I have zero confidence in their leadership. He went on to write that while he believes people shouldn't be in jail just because they can't afford bail, he disagreed with Foxx's role in what he says was a rushed state law, the SAFE-T Act, that eliminates cash bail and makes other major changes to the criminal justice system. And it doesn't, this article wrote it that it eliminates cash bail. It doesn't eliminate that cash bail fully. If it's the bill that I know of, it just eliminates cash bail for people who are being released on their own recognizance. They're not being held for any kind of violent crime. State Attorney Kim Foxx told officials at a county board committee hearing last week that 235 people, including attorneys, had resigned from her office just since July of last year. And the year before the pandemic began, that was 130. So 105 more than the previous year, which is a lot. The churn in the office since COVID-19 took hold has been enormous, office sources said. Roughly 1/3 of assistant state's attorney or ASA spots have been vacated and refilled from January 2020 to June of this year, 1/3 of them. In approximately that same time period, the office made 280 legal hires, but even with that triple-digit number, staffing is still not quite back up to the pre-pandemic level of 770 ASAs. The attrition has been apparent up and down in the chain of command, the sources said, but with some newer attorneys leaving after very short periods with the office, as well as some important prominent departures at senior levels. Morale for many remaining has cratered. So Foxx told the Tribune in an interview, quote, I'm not dismissing any of the very real concerns and stressors that my assistants are feeling right now. It's real. I'm trying as best as I can with the resources that I have to address that. The reality is this pandemic has been extraordinarily difficult in maintaining staffing in an already stressed environment, which has an impact on morale. I have applauded the fact that ASAs have been working through this backlog, but that requires a lot of work. The success of getting through the backlog comes at a price. So it kind of sounds like what's happening with the police. It sounds like what's happening with teachers. It sounds like it's happening with nurses. And now it's happening at the state attorney's office based on this reasoning. But the Jussie Smollett resentment is also very, very real. That was brought up by a few of the people who were exiting. And then other people were exiting. 60% of people in their exit interviews were saying they were going to be taking jobs in the private sector for a higher wage. So all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, I'm trying. I know that Jerry and I think even you and I have talked about other stories that have happened that were linked to Kim Foxx letting somebody out of prison and then having some kind of story happen where they ended up committing more crime. It almost established, I think it kind of established a pattern that I'm sure that has added to the frustration that these ASAs are having.
Mhm.
And it's like you want to give her the benefit of the doubt, that she's trying not to, go overboard with the prosecutions and stuff like that. But then
Yeah.
you see some of these things that like things fall through the cracks that definitely should not have fallen through the cracks, and it makes you wonder what exactly needs to change there, whether it's just people, not enough personnel, or something more.
That's my curiosity, right? Like, because most of the 2 articles that I read talked a lot about personnel with a few other like tips. But I agree with you, Ed. I feel like I have also stumbled upon stories where it's like, okay, that was like that could have been a really irresponsible release. And I also do know that they're having that issue in Los Angeles right now on a massive scale, like on a really dangerously massive scale. So where people who actually have been convicted or charged with violent crime, rather, I should say, are being released without bail. So if we don't have clear parameters over what we consider a violent crime, and then maybe that's something we need to revisit.
Yeah, and then it's all linked to the institutional problems that we have with law enforcement. I mean, who are they arresting and why? What charges are they pressing against people, and are they just charges? Are these people who decided that they were going to be protesting one day and all of a sudden they're getting arrested for trespassing and more?
Mhm.
Are these people who are homeless who are getting arrested for being homeless?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and then there's people actually out there committing crimes to commit
That's right.
crimes. So obviously it's not easy. It's not an easy
Yeah,
job.
absolutely. It's not an easy job. I would say it's probably one of the hardest jobs, in my opinion, in like elected leadership. So, but I think that this is an area, especially as we're trying to transition into a more progressive way of doing bail, where she's going to have to really be careful and walk into these situations with her eyes open, because otherwise she's going to have some real issues, and we as citizens are going to have some real issues on our hands. So we'll just, as an organization, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. And then I'm also so curious what ends up happening with this Guevara case, because it's like, this guy just gonna get to go free and clear.
He'll probably get away with it.
It'll be interesting to see if they ever manage to drag his ass back from Texas to stand up for charges or whatever.
Mhm.
What's the phrase?
Indicted.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right. What's next?
What is next? Who knows? Oh, we're going to talk about violent crime now. Goodness gracious. I need a drink, you guys. I'm going to go.
Wait, you mean we need to start talking about? Oh.
Okay. More uplifting news. Okay. I didn't realize the show was going to feel this way. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. So, the number of violent crimes on the L and buses has jumped to a level not seen in over a decade. A Chicago Sun-Times analysis has found through July 19th, 488 attacks have been reported on the transit system, the most since 533 in the same period in 2011. So like 50 less than highest recorded. So the number of passengers has remained relatively low. And that's the other interesting thing, is the passenger load is actually lower, right? But we are, we're at a heightened level of actual crime. So your percentage of chances of getting attacked has certainly gone up, even beyond that 2011 date, right? Because there are fewer people, but just 50 less crimes, or violent crimes, right? Attacks, I should say. So yeah, that means most riders are more likely to fall victim. The city used to have a data portal online and available to the public that track each crime on the CTA that stopped updating. They stopped updating that in 2011. I wonder why. I wonder why they would
Wait, who
stop
was mayor in 2011?
doing that. That's so weird.
Who was mayor in 2011?
Huh. I
Who was
wonder.
mayor in
I think a guy named Rahm Emanuel? Him?
Hey, you guys know that the public transportation here in Japan is top notch. It is the best. And oh man, you guys wish you had the public transportation that we got here.
No,
catch me,
it's too
suckers!
good. It's too good. Why would we do that? Okay, so the year that we have the highest amount of violent crime is the year that we stopped doing the updating of the tracking of crime on the CTA. Genius.
What?
Anyway,
that's weird.
It's very.
I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch.
Come on, Godzilla. Do us a solid.
Let's do us a solid, exactly.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Make it happen.
Violent crimes accounted for more than 26% of the 1,863 crimes reported on the CTA, whereas in 2018 and 2019, when there were far more riders, the violent crimes amounted to about 13% of the crimes. As more violent crimes have been committed, the deployment of police officers on the CTA seems to have not kept pace, but they're about to be shifting that. There are 145 officers assigned to the Chicago Police Department's transit units, down 92 officers from a peak in April of 2020, and they are supplemented by more than 250 unarmed private security guards. So there's like a supplementation situation going on with security guards that are unarmed on the CTA. This year began the number of police officers patrolling the CTA have dropped to a near 5-year low. The police department's public transportation and transit security units have 138 officers patrolling the entire system in February, according to data compiled by the city's Inspector General's office, and that figure was the lowest since August 2017. By comparison, the Dallas area Rapid Transit Police Department has more than 200 officers patrolling its system. And it announced plans earlier this year to hire 64 more. So we're at 138. They're in Dallas, by comparison, at 200. And then on March 9th, after a series of violent attacks, Lori Lightfoot and Superintendent David Brown held a news conference at the Chicago Avenue Red Line stop where a group of teenagers had been beaten and robbed. And they announced plans to hire more unarmed guards and to shuffle police resources to better address shifts in crime patterns. Measures criticized by a transit union in chief who called for its own agency to form its own police department, as Dallas, New York City, and Atlanta have done. The Amalgamated Transit Union Local 308, which represents some CTA employees, has called for the reestablishment of the CTA's own police department, which was disbanded in 1980. So,
yeah, that'd be a good idea, actually. As far as that goes, if they, I don't normally call for more police for anything, but if you have violence in the subways, you have somebody properly trained, specifically trained to handle issues that happen in the subway line, the transit line, on the platforms, in the cars. They have specific skills and purposes for that, and you have a force that is set up for that. That makes sense.
I was grateful that the CTA had spoken up and had a quote in this story, because I certainly like to mull over actual solutions to issues, because yes, this is a huge issue. Crime in the CTA, is up. Crime everywhere is up. We do, need protection as a community. Policing isn't, the say all end all of like evil or anything like that. It's just, what is the smartest way to go about dealing with certain situations? Things like, making sure that police are they're policing their own communities, right? And then like we have people who are specifically CTA security and police. It makes a lot of sense.
Yes, Ilhanar, I see the hypocrisy in me bringing that up. So I mentioned it. I was like, it's in this case, it has to do with having a specific purpose in keeping the safety of the riders who are on the platform and in the cars.
Yeah,
because you don't want them to be in a situation where they're escalating those types of conflicts, but you definitely want to have someone who's properly trained to deal with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of the conflicts, in my experience on the CTA, tend to be drug related, homelessness related, or mental health issue related. And so, certainly there's an increase, like this story is talking about, in violent crime, but the vast majority of issues that take place on the CTA have a lot more to do with nonviolent situations. And then Kathy Powers brought up a great comment where she said, I want to have conductors, which also used to be a thing on the CTA, which I think they got rid of in the 80s or 90s as well, where you would have somebody assigned to a train and making sure that everything is smooth in the cars. So so it's an interesting
it makes sense
consideration.
Because for conductors, then you have a guy besides the guy who's actually driving the train in the front car, who's able to help manage what's going on in the train, and then he can coordinate with public safety that might be on there.
Yeah. And then Pat agrees, when we had conductors, we had less problems on the CTA.
Yeah, that's true.
Right on. And I had read a little bit about the conductors while I was reading about these stories, and I was like, oh, what an interesting thought. But yeah, certainly, we want to be safe. We want to feel safe when we're riding the train, because especially when you're a train or bus, you're like in this capsule. There's like no getting on or off when you're on it. So it can be a little bit of an intimidating place to be. And then add to that this idea that, we have 13% more of attacks, violent crime on the trains and the buses doesn't fare well for the actual CTA and also its riders in the city itself. All right. So anyway, before the pandemic upended normal life, Chicago city officials were having a hard time making the transit system safer already. In late January 2020, just a week after the city's first coronavirus case was confirmed, Lightfoot called what was then a 3-year surge in CTA crime totally fundamentally unacceptable and promised to get a handle on it. After asking SWAT officers to start riding trains, interim police superintendent Charlie Beck announced plans for a crackdown that February. He added more transit cops, assigned 4 detectives to solve CTA crimes, and built a strategic deployment center specifically for mass transit. Bolstered by 50 moonlighting officers paid by the CTA, the number of cops assigned to the transit units grew from 187 that month to 237 in April of 2020, the most in recent years. So, Superintendent Brown has very much thinned the presence of the cops. But then ridership also fell significantly at the time. So thinning of the cops probably looked to make a lot more sense at the time. Lightfoot brought in Brown to head the police department. He began thinning of the ranks. But on the other hand, Julie Gerasmenko, who is the advocacy manager for Active Transportation Alliance, says that when it comes to crime on the CTA, it's not like the CTA is somehow immune from the other societal ills in the city. Other city agencies need to step up, and we need political will that doesn't only fund public safety, but also increases funding for social services, public health, and bolsters other safety net programs. Gerasimenko says the introduction of more unarmed security guards at the CTA's train stations is puzzling because there is actually little evidence that they make any difference at all, which is largely what we tend to say here. So it's just interesting to look at the numbers, the reduction in police, the reduction of riders, but the increase in percentage of violent attacks, and what will actually make a difference. So we have Gerasimenko and largely our show saying like, hey, this is a societal issue. This isn't a CTA issue.
Okay.
Like CTA is not in a vacuum. Then you have the CTA union saying, hey, we need our own unit that's trained in the CTA. We have other advocates saying like, hey, why don't we bring back this idea of a conductor? So there are all kinds of ideas flying around. It's just a matter of.
Yeah, it sounds like the solution is going to be a combination of things. Yeah, like if they're saying that adding more unarmed security guards is not working, well, maybe they're not trained properly, or maybe they're not actually addressing the issues when they come up. Maybe they're sitting huddled together in one car while the crime's happening on the other end of the car.
I do think there has been a little bit of an attitude from police recently too, almost like a down low sort of a boycott. At least I've heard of that. Where it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna not
responsibility.
Yeah. I've heard stories of that happening as well. So to your point, Ed, maybe there isn't the effort to actually make it through the cars to make sure that everybody is doing fine throughout. Maybe it's not there.
Not trained properly. Not trained properly to work on the train.
Yes.
Yes, Kathy.
Yes. Exactly. So it would, in the perfect world, it would probably be a little bit of a mix of everything. Well, in a perfect world, we have a society that just supports everybody and everybody's taken care of, and nobody needs to be on the train because they're homeless. It's
I'm just looking for a couple paragraphs further down in that story, and yeah, they're saying what I just said. That the security guards are not trained for de-escalation or customer service or anything. Okay. Why?
I was just about to read that, actually. That's hilarious. So Superintendent Brown on Saturday announced another team of Chicago police officers will be added to the CTA, and they'll bring in canine security guard teams this time. This isn't the first time canines have been used for CTA security. In 2019, the CTA canceled its contract with the security firm that struggled to train its guards to handle dogs, and the transit agency decided it would no longer use dogs to deter crime. The change came after the CTA learned that most dog handler applications for the guards were deficit. The Chicago-based security agency AGB Investigative Services started providing canine security teams on CTA trains and platforms in May 2019, taking over from a previous firm, but the CTA ended what was to have been a 2-year contract in August. After pulling the dogs, the CTA spokesperson said, "We don't believe canines are the most effective deterrent in this service, but let's go ahead and bring them back anyway."
I do have an idea though that is kind of related. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Hang on a second. Okay. Now just bear with me for 1 second here. Okay. Let's see if I can open that in a new window. Okay. Oh, hang on.
Meanwhile, here at Chicago Corner, we are always live every Tuesday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay, here's the solution.
Don't miss it. Oh my God, those are puppies. They're so cute.
Train car full of puppies.
There you go.
Emotional support puppies for everyone who gets onto the train. You cannot be violent if you have a train car full of puppies. Oh my God, they are so adorable. I cannot commit crime. I'm just going to stay here and sit in the train with the puppies.
Look at these cute puppies. Yeah, we got it. We have a lot of support from the chat on the puppy idea.
Puppy power.
I think we need to put that into our manifesto.
I mean, maybe not running all over the car. Maybe just, maybe a couple well-placed baskets full of puppies.
Agreed.
Maybe every other car.
Yeah, and then Pat shares that homeless are everywhere here on the far north side, sleeping on benches, on the street, in doorways, and in tents in the parks. It's disgraceful. $40 billion would do a lot for them.
Yeah, but that $40 billion had to go to Ukraine. Remember.
Yeah. Plus,
and remember, corporate media was saying that the war was going to be over. That wasn't going to be prolonged.
No.
It was over. That's it. And that's. But hey, disregard the fact that only 30% of those munitions are getting to where they need to go.
Oh, and
cover your eyes.
They also needed another billion, and so that billion isn't so that billion doesn't get lonely. They're also sending along another $4.5 billion along with it.
Another $4.5 billion.
So it's like $5.5 billion of happy dollars flying out of our country, not helping us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did Ukraine, like Israel, also become the 51st and 52nd states of America? Because boy, oh boy, do those states get a whole lot of favoritism.
Oh, man. Let's not talk about Israel right now. All right, onward. Let's not talk about it.
Just saying.
Anyway.
Yep.
I'm starting to itch. That's how I get. Okay, so yeah, we have luckily we have some solutions flying around. Unluckily, we have very little political will to do much of anything. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how the canines work out. And also these security guards that they're bringing in that aren't actually police officers. I don't know. I don't know that they're, from the reports that I was reading, I don't know that they're doing much at all. And I think that bill is like $71 million a year, and they're thinking of increasing that now too. So,
really quick here. Beastmaster X says everyone always talks about the X amount of billions that the government's sending, but when are we going to talk about where it comes from and how the Federal Reserve works? Yeah, I have actually brought this up on many an occasion. Some people know it as modern monetary theory, or MMT, which really just tells you how federal spending works. It's a lens for viewing how the economy works right now. It's not a strategy, but it does show you what is possible. And as we know, those billions flying out the door to Ukraine, how are we paying for that? We're not, is the short answer. The federal government doesn't have monetary limits. It only has resource limits. It can pay for anything that is available for sale in dollars, which means that if the resources are there, the federal government can pay for them. Which makes you wonder, why the hell don't we have universal health care? Well, that'll bring us down a whole other rabbit hole that'll take several hours to talk about. So we won't deal with that right now.
No money for the people.
But there is a book I can recommend, which I lent recently to Kit Cabello, called The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kelton. And it is a book I'd like us to share with the rest of the group. So, Kit, when you're done reading that, I think Jerry was next in line to read that one. And then you could probably pass that on to Kira, because I'm sure she'll love to read that one as well.
I would love to read that. Yes.
And if you guys aren't big fans of reading, I know she's got an audio book, and Stephanie Kelton has several videos on the tubes that you can find where she explains how federal spending works and how we can actually afford to pay for things without having to worry about how we're going to pay for them.
Yeah, and then Beastmaster X says, I'll have to check that out. My big eye-opener was The Creature of Jekyll Island. Okay. Never heard of it, but I wanted to get that out there. Share it with our audience. Okay, so we're going to move into the last story that I have prepared for the evening. That is a little bit in my wheelhouse, but it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure that I'm like clear exactly on how this works, but we'll dive in anyway. So there are a few areas in Chicago that will have an opportunity to voice their opinions on the need for mental health in their communities through ballot referendums this coming November. And it's really interesting because it's only these referendums are only going to be on certain areas and districts, which I don't know that I was really aware of a thing that happened. So on November 8th, 2022, voters in the Westtown and Humboldt Park communities and the Southeast, Kenwood, Hyde Park, Woodlawn, and South Shore communities will vote on a binding referendum question asking if residents are willing to expand mental health services for their communities by approving a 0.025% increase on property taxes. If a referendum question is binding, that means the proposal, if it's approved by voters, it will automatically take effect. No further legislative action is required. So I was pretty taken aback by the fact that this was a thing and I had not heard of it. Again, this is not a state referendum. This isn't even for the full municipality, of the city of Chicago. This is just for those areas. Oh, I'm trying to share.
I'm looking for the story
of the of where this is here. Copy.
Is it the Save Our Mental Health one?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Or Save Our Mental Health. Yeah.
All right, let's see it.
SaveOurMentalHealth.org.
Save it. Are you bringing it up, Ed, or should I?
I can bring the screen up. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Oh, it's because it's called A Voter's Guide to Expanded Mental Health Service Programs. So yeah,
welcome and thank you for visiting and learning more about expanding mental health services programs for Chicago.
Yeah, so basically they're saying that, people in these communities will have an opportunity to vote on this. And what will these funds do? They'll provide direct free mental health services for a resident in the area who needs assistance. They'll establish a new community mental health center to provide these services. They'll restore other vital mental health services, such as outreach in schools, veteran services, preventative outreach, and family counseling. By law, every penny of this money will stay in the communities and can only be spent on mental health services. And these funds will be overseen locally by a governing commission of residents living within the communities. And then they have what does 0.025% mean to me? It's a $4 increase for every $1,000 you currently pay in property taxes. So that's something that voters will be able to voice their opinions on.
Good.
And you don't have to pay property taxes to be able to vote on it. The location will be decided by a governing commission created with the passage of the referendum, which is wild. I mean, did you guys know that we could pass referendums as wards and just smaller?
I think it's fantastic. Boy, oh boy, what about a great referendum for all the wards on the south side and west side of Chicago to get rid of all those industrial polluters polluting their neighborhoods? That would be nice.
Yeah. We're gonna have to find out the structure of how we can do this, so that we can teach others how to do this.
Yeah.
Because when those mental health facilities all got closed, and then Lori decided not to reopen them, it made us have to look for other options like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a pretty good one, right? This isn't too bad. So what? It's just going to be the specific wards that did the referendum. That's where those taxes will be increased.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Kathy says the problem is that the clinics are only for those areas, and if you move, you lose your service, which
well,
makes sense. And then you probably also, if you move into the area, you probably got to bring like mail and get your ID and all of that updated too, which I'm notoriously horrible at doing. So I probably would still not be able to use the services even if I move into the area. Okay, cool. Let's see here. And then there's another referendum that would ask if Chicago should reopen all the closed mental health clinics that were operated by the public health department, as well as whether the city should team of mental health professionals to be dispatched to mental health emergency calls. But only residents of the 6th, 20th, and 33rd wards are going to receive that question. And that's a non-binding referendum. So it's basically like
It's
where is everybody on this?
It's basically instructing our leaders to do this, but you don't have to, which in my opinion is a waste of a referendum.
Yeah,
Make them binding.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, but because this is all new to me anyway, and today was kind of a limited day as far as like time is concerned, I wasn't able to dig more deeply into how do you get a referendum just for your ward. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm just amazed at that. So,
here's the thing, and if you want a good referendum, find out who your alderman is, because if it's something to stand against corruption, you might have to vote that bastard out, whoever they are. Because remember, if there is a way you can have a referendum to help out the people in your said ward, just remember, why didn't the alderman do anything in the first place to do so? So there's a lot of things to take into account of why maybe a lot of us don't know about these referendums. But this is a chance for a lot of Chicagoans to educate themselves about their wards and also find out who their alderman is. And by the way, I just want to remind our viewing audience that here's the bigger picture. And I'm glad that we're actually talking about this story. 2023 is going to be the next city election in Chicago. And we're already bringing on board interns for Chicago Corner and Heartlands Media. And we're going to be bringing out people out there to cover these stories and talk to the aldermen, talk to the people out there in the streets, because this has to be brought to our people's attention. Chicagoans need to know what their rights are.
Yeah. Interesting.
What happened?
I had asked my sister a question earlier in regards to this story, actually. So I remember she had responded to me. So the city already operates, and I'll get into what she said because I actually haven't read this, so I don't know what she said. In response, the city already operates a crisis assistant response and engagement, or CARE, pilot program that launched last fall. CARE started off using a co-responder model, so police officers have still been involved in the pilot that operated in Lakeview and Uptown and in Auburn, Gresham, and Chatham neighborhoods. Last month, the city expanded the pilot program with a third team. It's first operating without a police officer. That team responds to calls in the Southwest Side neighborhoods of Chicago: Long, Gage Park, West Elston, and West Lawn. As for mental health clinics, former mayor, Rahm Emanuel, closed half of them about a decade ago, and then Lightfoot hasn't come out in support of reopening them. So that's what this non-binding referendum speaks to. But only 3 of the wards are doing it, so that seems interesting. Silly is the word that was there for me. Instead, she's opted for a myriad of public-private partnerships to support clinics not operated by the city. In a statement sent Monday, the Chicago Department of Public Health noted that its mental health budget has grown from $12 million to $89 million, and that this year the city is on track to serve 60,000 residents. So anyway, my sister owns a pretty big mental health collective in the city of Chicago with 2 different locations. I think she has 27 therapists that work in and for her company. And I said, gosh, that's really interesting that she's opting for public-private partnerships, and it went from 12 million to 89 million. And I don't think that I heard my sister mention anything about ever receiving any help from the city financially to help get their services out. So I'm just curious, like, how does that money get filtered in? Does it go to I'm guessing to the patient, and then it goes to the whatever, mental health facility they go to. But my other curiosity was like, how do they help facilitate more mental health spaces, more therapy offices, So anyway, my sister wrote me a novel back. So you guys can go ahead and comment, and I'll see what she had to say in the way of that.
I don't really have much to add to this.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no,
I'm kind of stuck in the looking at chats and trying to figure out what Roger Meadows is asking us here. I guess we were talking was last week about the minimum wage report.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. And you had said he was curious about something. You had said, Ed, because you said that for the state of Illinois, it said that the minimum wage would have to be $22 and some odd change, and you said it would have to be more. And Roger was pointing out that the Chicago minimum wage would have had to have been 25 near the bottom of the page, and he was curious what you thought about that. That's what I think
he's probably right. I couldn't say what the actual number is and all, and because we have the different wards in the different areas, and you've got some places that are more gentrified and cost more to live, and then even if you stretch that out to all the suburbs, the prices are going to probably. I would conservatively say they will range like within $10 an hour, depending on what part of the city you're living in. But some places in the city probably need to be making, $30, $35 an hour in order to be able to live in some of the not really, really nicer areas of Chicago. But yeah, 25 an hour is probably a good average that I would say. Maybe low on the average.
Yeah. And then Roger Meadows is saying yes to Professor Stephanie Kelton, the author of Deficit Myth, the Modern Monetary Theory. She teaches way out in Long Island and Stony Brook University. And then Kira, some municipalities offer BI and veto referendum. And then I wanted to, Beastmaster said about the Isle of Jekyll or whatever that was, what was the nature of Jekyll Island? It was about how the Federal Reserve was started. And Beastmaster X is saying that one blew his mind. So something to look for. And then, my sister's response was really interesting. So this is.
What'd she say?
So she said that clinics that meet restrictive qualifications are the ones that generally get that kind of funding. We tried to apply for a bunch of grants last year, but we didn't meet, or rather chose not to meet, qualifications for CMHC because we would have had to choose only one population per clinic that the money could go to, and we would choose only 3 methodologies of psychotherapy for each demographic chosen. We also had to submit with our application ample evidence to support that those methodologies work with the specific demographics. Pretty much, we could have chosen LGBTQ plus community in Lakeview and the immigrant or refugee community in the West Loop because that's the majority of our demographics at those locations. But we wouldn't have been able to practice art therapy, hypnosis, somatic therapy, dance movement therapy, trauma-informed yoga therapy. They want us to use CBT, DBT, ACT, behavioral therapies, win out with those grants, which is just thought changing and isn't it all on the holistic end. We didn't want to limit which communities we could serve, so we decided to create our nonprofit sector instead, which will cater to private practices and will require that minimum of 3 communities of need are identified and a minimum of 5 methodologies of psychotherapy will be utilized. We're still building the bylaws and getting it started, but the gaps she's talking about in mental health care aren't resolved by reinforcing the cis straight white man's idea of mental health. If she wants to close the gap, she needs to cater to the communities in need and learn how they want to heal, not dump money into already unworkable systems. So that's just my sister's 2 cents as as a
Yeah, that felt like $5, Kira. That wasn't just 2 cents.
because I did think it was strange that there was that much of an increase, and my sister I didn't hear my sister say anything about getting funding, so I called her right away. So
yeah, we've all I think we've all brought up how important it is for us to have national health care. That's comprehensive, that covers everybody, that has dental and vision and all the other stuff that people need, and it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to get health care. In fact, from my point of view, it shouldn't cost us anything to get health care. But I mean, if you want to charge people $5 or $10 for prescription, okay, but thousands of dollars for insulin, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
And people who are dealing with diabetes, I think, pay like 50% more in their medical bills plus, but like minimally that much more. And it's really sick that we have people who have this issue that is completely manageable, who cannot get what they need in the richest country there ever was.
So here we got Roger Meadows following up with the numbers for how much it costs in a handful of different counties here. He says Chicago, Joliet, Naperville, $25.77 an hour. Kendall County, $25. Yeah, well, it's like I said, there's going to be a range, and it's between 25 and 30. It sounds right to me for a living basic wage.
Yeah, for a living wage, agreed.
And that's a starting wage. You want to pay us more? Fine, we'll take it. I don't understand why people think that only people who are quote unquote skilled deserve to have a roof over their heads and to be able to come home and not have to worry about whether meals or their medical bills, how those are going to get paid, how their mortgage or rent is going to get paid. We go back to the living wage in this country from the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 is where they established a minimum wage, and it had always been meant to be a living wage. And somewhere along the lines, all the jerks in Congress decided, oh well, you guys don't need to make that much money. You don't deserve to have a living wage with this job, or if you're flipping burgers or you're a janitor, you don't deserve to have a living wage.
I know.
We need to freeze this number because $7.25 an hour is fine in 1937, maybe. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yep.
Get with the times. 27 an hour, 30. Let's say 40. $40 an hour minimum wage. Fight for 40.
And then I wanted to highlight something else because I'm just going through the chat because I missed some of them while I was doing some of the report. But there's no such thing as public-private. Come on. I was like, oh, that's like neoliberalism at its. That's the disguise. That public/private is that's what that.
Well, it's all with these little business deals that they do in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. It's code.
The tech, all the tech industry stuff, where they're like, "Oh yeah, we got this. Wasn't it they took over a good portion of the old post office and they decided to make it a tech incubator or something? I forget what they called it, but yeah, this is one of those public-private partnership things that's probably more private than anything else.
That's what that would be my guess too. And I had that thought, the neoliberal thought when I read that, and then when Kathy said it in the chat, I was like, oh, I gotta highlight this.
Everything's got to be some opportunistic deal where it makes the city a bunch of money, or it makes somebody's cronies who happens to work for the city a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We got to stop thinking like that.
Agreed.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I mean, I'm glad that I could bring everybody a very light show today.
Really?
Come on, this was fine. I mean, this is one of our tamer shows, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it also, I don't feel like it was a little lighter at the end with the mental health, but anytime you talk about how little mental health we actually have in this country, and it's like just by like, small wards and municipalities, and we're, trying to like scrounge for these crumbs. And so it does something to my system. That's all I have to say. Makes me feel heavy. And I'm grateful that I have this community to go to and talk about these things with. So,
Agreed.
yeah. So I appreciate you guys, Kit and Ed. Before we sign off for the evening, I want you guys to let our audience know where they can find you. Kit, why don't we start with you? Where can folks find you, and what are you plugging today?
I am plugging definitely Hard Lens Media, of course, live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube, Odyssey, Rockfin, Rumble, and Twitch. Be sure to check out also Chicago Reacts and Chicago Reacts Movies and TV. We didn't do the thing.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
And also on August 21st at 6 p.m., we are actually having an open house at our studio. So check it out. It's on Eventbrite, and if you're on our Discord, I'll be more than happy to, it's a Hard Lens Media Discord. I'll be more than happy to post a link to our open house and invite everyone that wants to come to it. So
you guys should definitely come. I'm going to be there.
Yeah, if you don't got to get it, you don't get it. Go figure it out.
It out.
I'm also proud to say that, yes, folks, it is now coming into fruition. We are getting interns at Hard Lens Media and for Chicago Corner. So that's going to be happening. More on that very soon. But otherwise, that's all I got to share with you people.
Right on, right.
Yes!
Tanya! All right. Sweet. All right. Am I back? Okay. There we go.
You're back.
There we go. Okay, cool.
still
Kathy
in there.
Power says, is there going to be food?
Yes.
Oh, and we should bets on NASCAR fatalities too. Over under.
No, I don't want to do that.
Under bets.
I don't want to do that.
Oh man.
We got to bet on how many of them fall through sinkholes or land, end up on the lower whacker or the underside of Michigan Avenue.
Yes, indeed. Well, we can expect it. Ed, anything more from you where people can find your stuff and more?
You can find some of my stuff at the Chicago Corner Redbubble merch shop, where you can get fantastic items like flavor improving mugs, the mugs that improve flavor. Do you have a mug that doesn't improve the flavor of your beverage? Well,
it looks like a nice chick snack.
It's a nice chick snack.
What are you doing with that mug when you could have a flavor improving mug? Sponsored by Flavored Improving Mugs, the only mug that sponsors itself.
That's right.
The only mug that sponsors it.
It's a nice chick.
And if you want to see my other stuff, you can check out edheller.com, edheller.com, and you can find the link to realdeepdish.com, which is where you can learn how to make Chicago-style pizza at home. Did you know there's 4 styles of Chicago pizza, Kit Cabello? 4.
Boho, preppy, chic, and posh.
Yes, those are the nicknames. Those are the nicknames of the Chicago pizza.
Deep dish, pot pie, tavern style, and I forgot the 4th one.
You're close. You got deep dish, you got tavern style thin crust, you got stuffed, and you got the caramelized pan pizza that most people know from Pequod's.
I thought we had pot pie pizza too. I thought that was
pizza pot pie is also a thing. I don't know if it's really a pizza, but it could be like a 5th style. It was also suggested that another provisional style is the double-decker pizza, that you can get from Bill's in Mundelein. But since Mundelein isn't Chicago proper, I don't know if it's an official style until a lot more places are starting to make that.
So we have tavern thin crust, we have deep dish, we have pan
Stuffed.
style, and then we have stuffed.
Yeah.
Right.
Tavern.
And by the way,
deep dish. Yeah.
By the way, extra bola, we won the election, so there we go.
Yeah, we did. And I
saw
think,
that. I saw that.
And I think one of our friends in independent media, INN, is having a fundraiser for Uncle Warren over on Jesse Jett's show tonight.
Good.
So after you're done watching us, you can watch that. Tune in and definitely come back and watch all the other videos that you didn't watch on Chicago Corner. I know our Tuesday video from last week got pulled down, so if you didn't get a chance to watch us live, you can go back and watch it again and see me ranting about healthcare like I do.
There was a lot of shimmying done by me last week.
Some shimmying happened.
There was a lot of shimmying because we got a lot of super chats.
And definitely come back on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time for the Friday episode of Chicago Corner. Excuse me. Where we will, I don't have a cough button, where we will also be talking about everything that we probably talked about today, only louder and
just
with
in
Jerry.
A different context, and with Jerry. So it'll be louder with a lot of personal anecdotes. That's what you'll get, and it will be lovely and funny as hell. And then for me, I want to do a little pluggy plug. I have a show coming up. It's a mud wrestling show, Mud Queens of Chicago. We're going to be at Reggie's at, I think it's, Staten 21st. And we do authentic Chicago women's mud wrestling, and all of our proceeds go to the Chicago Women's Health Center. So you definitely want to check us out. We have a couple of bands playing before us, and then we get on to wrestle usually around 10 p.m. There's me right there in the poster. I don't know if you can see my cursor circling me, but I'm right in the front. I'm a Brownie Girl Scout. So we all have alter egos, and it is ridiculously fun. So come check us out Saturday, August 27th at Reggie's Rock Club. I just did my promo videos this weekend. It was hilarious. And because I for my promo videos, I did some of the old Girl Scout, on my honor, I will try to serve God in my country to help people.
You don't have one of those on you, do you? Can we get a preview of that?
I wish I had that right now. I don't have it yet, but if I get it before Friday, I'll make sure I send it to you guys.
Okay, yeah, because we could definitely put that on the Friday show. You call in if you want and promote it.
Yeah. I know I'm having family over on Friday, but it's my sister. You guys just heard from her. She's cool as hell. So definitely check us out. And like I said, our proceeds go to the Chicago Women's Health Center, as we know, is very much needed right now. And so it's for a good cause. Otherwise, you can check me out at comfyfitness.com, which is my online movement company. We help people free themselves of pain, discomfort, fear, any of that in the world of their movement, and by extension, their worlds, making everything just more accessible in their worlds and in their communities. So that's comfyfitness.com. We operate in a gift model, which means that anybody can access our services as long as you have internet. Our prices vary depending on what you want to pay. And then other than that, you can see me next Tuesday right here, same time, same place on Chicago Corner, 7:30 p.m. I hope I get to see all of you again at that time. And that's all I got to say. So thank you guys again for joining me, Ed and Kit. Ed, do you want to take me out, or should I take us out?
Oh, I could do that. Let's see if I can remember how.
I always have Jerry do.
What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, strange. Weird.
Why don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Hey, Hinky. Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's a Hinky. It's a Hinky.
All right, where's the? No, that's not it.
Yes!
Tanya! I love that video so much.
Oh, I got it. Okay, hold on a
Okay,
second.
here we go.
Well, we got it.
Okay. No, wait, that's not it.
Oh, come on.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.